morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at two of the most expensive Pokemon auctions that have happened in a while, and they've both happened in fairly quick succession. We're talking about there's a PSA 10 ISWUBBARA-GX, and we're talking about a number 2 trainer. So if we start off with ISWUBBARA-GX, this was put up for sale on eBay, and it has gone and sold for $50,500. Now, if we want to do that as some kind of a currency conversion, for those of you that are in the UK, and there are a few of you out there, we're basically talking £40,800. Or in Australian dollars, it would be $79,000. Japanese yen, it would be 5.4 million yen, etc. €46,650. It's a very, very expensive auction. The question is, what is this card and why is it so expensive? Now, I did do a video a little while ago about this card, saying that it should be one of the most expensive cards we've seen. And it is. Now, Ishihara is the president of the Pokemon Company International, and this was given him as a 60th birthday present. Now, it was actually given out to a bunch of Pokemon Company employees, not just Ishihara, but it's still extremely rare. Now, the other thing which is very important, this is not supposed to be sold to the public. Part of the deal with cards like this is that they're given out to employees, and they're supposed to remain for employees only. Now, there was a PSA 9 that was sold by Collector's Cash last year, in April 2019, so pretty much exactly a year ago, and that one sold for $13,000. But the thing is, these get sold to collectors. So every time one of these sells, it gets a little bit rarer because there should, in theory, be one fewer person which is willing to actually sell it. Yeah. Now, this one sold for $50,000. It is a PSA 10. PSA 10 is basically a grading company that assesses the condition of cards, and there is a fair difference between a PSA 10 and a PSA 9. It means it's in significantly better condition, and therefore we would expect it to, have quite a bit more value. I should mention this was actually sold by Collector's Cash over on eBay. So apparently both of them so far have been sold by Collector's Cash. Now, I should give a shout out to the lovely Primal Lugia over at PokeGuardian.com, who did bring my attention to this story, the fact that this one had sold. And as I believe I told you last time, there was actually some information that was posted by the illustrator of the card, Mike Cressy, back in 2018, though it did get removed, which is how it took us till last year to find out about this card. Here's what he said. A few months ago, was asked if wanted to do a portrait of Pokemon's leader in Japan, Mr. Ishihara, for a special edition of a Pokemon card. I was excited and nervous about taking on this task, but very soon all that just resolved to a focus on the job at hand. It was to be an 18 by 24 in size, so a frame version could be presented to Mr. Ishihara for his 60th birthday. There were also regular Pokemon card versions to be given out by Mr. Ishihara. I was also given a copy of both the full-size poster art and several regular-size Pokemon card versions, one of them with Mr. Ishihara's signature. I had the larger size framed and is on my wall in my art studio at home, which will soon be followed by the playing card signed version. So many people were involved with getting this approved and printed, but I mostly worked with Chris Frank art direction and Dave Bennett card design, frame and text. I thank you guys for all the help in getting this done, and I thank my employer for the honour of illustrating this card. So it's all legit, it's all above board. Probably shouldn't have posted that, which is probably why he took it down. This is not the kind of car we expect to be popping up very often at all in auctions, which is why a PSA 10 will go for $50,000, because the reality is, when's the next one going to come up? I mean, it's taken a year between them coming around, and that's actually kind of impressive. That it only took a year. I don't think we'll get another one coming around in the next year. But there has been another even more expensive auction. A shout out again to the lovely Primal Lugia for making me aware of it. It is a number 2 trainer card from 1997, and it has sold for 9,051,000 yen. Now, I know most of you don't primarily work in yen, so to convert that, we're talking $84,100, £68,100, and €77,750, with a little bit of rounding there to make it easier. This is a very expensive card. Now, this is not actually PSA graded, but there's a very good reason why it's not actually PSA graded. Because these weren't just given out as cards, these were given out in big displays. You wouldn't crack this to PSA grade it, that would make very little sense. You keep it in the display where it comes. Now, this is a very, very expensive card because they were given out in the Lizardon, what the Japanese call Charizard, Mega Battles, but only for a limited time. Shout out to trophycards.weebly.com, who does have a list of the tournament dates, and we can see that we basically had 8 tournaments, ranging from the Masala Cup in the Kobe International Exhibition Hall on November the 8th, 97, through to the finals in the Chibi Prefecture on April the 26th, 1998. So less than a year. Now, if we head on over to Bulbapedia, we can get a bit more information about the specifics of the card. Because you see, they did keep doing these tournaments in Japan, but it got reprinted and ended up with different artwork. So originally it was drawn by the lovely Mitsuhiro Arita, but then we ended up with this number 2 drawn by Hideki Kazama, and this number 2 drawn by Ken Sugimori, and we ended up with different artworks, which only made the original and oldest version even rarer. Of course, nowadays a number 2 trainer card is still given out, but it is given out at the Pokemon World Championships, and it's not just open to Japanese players, and it is nowadays printed in English. Oh. Yeah, so this card, it's over 20 years old, and it's not coming back. And it's only getting rarer and rarer. Now, it was given up to the runner-up in all the age divisions, and there were a few tournaments, but let's be clear, there really were not very many tournaments at all. Time you take out a couple that have been lost or damaged, etc., and we end up with a very, very expensive card. Now, this was actually sold on Yahoo Auctions over in Japan. For anyone that doesn't remember, Yahoo Auctions did exist in the US for a while, but suffice to say, it went away, unfortunately. Couldn't compete with eBay. But over in Japan, Yahoo Auctions is still going very, very strong. Now, this specific one did actually come from the original, the first tournament, the Masala Cup, the one that was in Kobe International Exhibition Hall, Kobe, November the 8th, 1997. But it doesn't really matter which one it came from. These are just not going to be sold. We see this with very rare, very old cards. They make their way into the hands of collectors who don't want to part with them. Now, sometimes they end up in the hands of prospectors who want to hold on to them for a little while and then sell them on at a profit. But even then, you're asking to buy it from someone who bought it for $84,000 and is looking to resell at a profit in the future. That's not going to end up being cheap. And if these cards keep coming around, it's very, very likely that you're going to see the price raised to over $100,000. And of course, very much worth pointing out here, this is the number 2 trainer card. This isn't the number 1 trainer card. This is the number 2. Now, the number 1 is exactly as rare as the number 2. There were exactly as many number 1 finishers as there were number 2 finishers. But let's face it, we all know that a number 1 card from someone who won the tournament is going to end up being more valuable than a number 2 from someone who came second. That's just the way it ends up going. And not for nothing, and I am afraid I have no proof to back this up, but anecdotally, I have heard that Japanese players at the World Championships are far less likely to sell their trophy cards than Europeans and North American players. That's why anytime there is a year where Japanese players do very well, it gets more difficult to actually go and buy those trophy cards. So this is something that we should expect to get more and more expensive over time. For anyone that's wondering what it actually says, it reads, "The Pokemon card game official tournament's runner-up winner is recognized here, and this honor is praised. By presenting this card, you may gain preferential entry into the Pokemon card game official tournament." Translation by the lovely folks over at Bulbapedia. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, 2 of the rarest cards we've seen, selling for frankly ridiculous amounts of money, but both of them selling for prices we might expect, given the rarity and the stories behind them. So now it's over to you guys. I'd like to hear your thoughts on these. I'd like to know if you would ever pay this much money for a Pokemon card, or whether you think it's all getting a little bit silly. Go nuts in the comment section, but please remember the rules. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's